just take us back to the last 15 minutes of the program, where I was asking about the Senate and the House of Rep. Some people said there was no quorum, and that meant that it's an illegality to support a decision of the president that some said was illegal, and then have another illegality as the next layer on top of it, where quorums were not formed in both houses. And there's a member of House of Rep who was shouting, "We don't have quorum." What do you say to this, and where does it take us? Are we going all the way to the abyss before we come back?
I will try to keep this as brief as I can. About a couple of weeks ago, there was a video of Julius Malema, even I posted it, where he was arguing with the South African Speaker of the House. And they were having an argument, and Malema told the woman, "The court just ruled against you. By what rules are you asking that I should be silent? The court just ruled against you." He kept emphasizing that the court just ruled against the speaker. The importance of that singular phrase, the court, is lost on Nigerians, but it was the beginning of our woes. A government that is not bound by rules, that does not obey laws. INEC told us that it had made regulations under the Electoral Act, but those regulations, it violated them, and the courts upheld these violations. The House was reminded by one of his own members of the fact that it's on public record that you don't have quorum, because the constitutional requirement is of 2/3 of its members sat in the House, not 2/3 of the people sat there, talk less of voice acclamations. So there was only a pretense at compliance with constitutional demands. But even if they had properly convened, the secondary issue is, could they have ratified an illegality? But we are in an environment where I don't need a soothsayer to tell me what our Supreme Court would say if this matter ever gets before it. We're in an environment where Akpabio does what he cares in the Senate, and his counterpart in the House of Rep does exactly the same. We are not governed by any rules. So speaking about the House of Reps or talking about the Senate, speaking to the observance of rules and compliance with norms is a waste of time in our situation. Rules do not matter any longer. It is about the will of men. If the man sat at the top of the pyramid says that he desires a third and fourth term, between Akpabio and his brother Awase, they will give it to him. Our constitution does not matter.
Did you just say that if the president wants a
I
third
am
term?
repeating myself without any fear of contradiction, that if Bola Ahmed Tinubu decides that he wants a third term, pretty much like Uncle Shege, he would submit that bill, and your House of Reps and Senate will pass that bill in record time. You are seeing the beginning of the Yademization of our presidency. You are seeing the beginning of a full-blown dictatorship that is unrestrained by any law. That is the reality. The only thing that has happened is that it is crowing triumphantly in the marketplace, announcing that it is unrestrained by laws or by rules. It is not that it started today. It was always part and parcel of our governance system. Obasanjo did the same, he just did it differently. Yaradua did the same, he just did it differently. Buhari was not so refined in pushing his own in our face. And the one thing you can take for granted is that Bulaba does not care one bit what any one of the belly achers, from the likes of me to the ones in his class who are going to feel the heat in the coming days. He doesn't care what they say or think. It's about power. And he's in control. He's the one in power.
These people in authority don't care for what you and I think. And for them, it's about power. You know, Wike once said, for those of us who knows what to do with power when we get power, It's for them about power and control, how they can impose themselves on us as Nigerians. Dele Farotimi mentioned that we are getting to the point of full-blown dictatorship. But before we dissect what he said, please, if you're meeting this content for the first time, like, share, and subscribe so that you can help us amplify this awareness that we're trying to bring to Nigerians at large, at home and in the diaspora. And if you've been following us and you've not yet subscribed, please do so. Subscribe, click on the subscribe button there, and leave your comment as well in the comment section. Let me first of all ask you, do you first of all agree that we're getting to the point where we can say Nigeria is getting to a full-blown dictatorship? Because we have a National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Reps, who are the enablers of Tinubu. We have a FCT minister who can destroy at will people's properties. Okay? And then we have a police force headed by the Inspector General of Police who hounds down people on behalf of the ruling party. And by the way, his tenure has expired. The time he's allowed by constitution is expired. Now, Dele Farotimi mentioned that if Tinubu wants to go for a third term, you will be shocked at the record time with which the National Assembly, meaning the Senate under Akpabio and the House of Reps, will pass it in record time. That's why he said that we're actually in a full-blown dictatorship. Remember, it didn't take a night or two for them to say they're making change to the constitution to allow Kayode Egbetokun to stay in power as a police IG. That's the thing that actually locked they called for Moyele Showere's travel passport. And shortly after that, it didn't take long for the man to actually impose a state of emergency in Rivers State, and you get the National Assembly to do a quorum. They didn't even do a quorum, actually, I take that one back. They didn't do a quorum, they just voted by voice, which is illegal according to the Constitution. We're not governed by laws anymore. We're governed by the wills of men. That's what Dele Farotimi said. For those of you who are Christians and those of you who are not, I want to explain something. There's a story in the Bible which I was talking to a few kids about recently, about David in the Bible, where he did something that God has said to him, don't do, which is, don't count the children of Israel. And David went ahead and did it. Even when his chief security officer said to him, in quote, his chief security officer said to him, you're not allowed to do that. I'm saying that because of the rules. The rules was that you're not allowed to count these people because they belong to God. And David went ahead and did it nonetheless. And something happened, and God said, I'm going to kill these people because of what you did. And God said, and either I do it myself, I do it or let men do it. David said, I will want you to do it because you have forgiveness. Men, when they have power, they don't. They will kill everything. The point of saying that little story or narration is that when men are in unbridled control over people, they are vicious, they are vexed with power. Example is Wike. I use that story to give you an amplification of this picture I'm trying to paint, so that you will understand that the autonomy and the power that the National Assembly has, for the fact that they've abdicated their responsibility of check and balance, of putting the executive in its place and said, you know what, do whatever you want. Just pay us $25,000. We don't care. And that's exactly what Akpabio has done. That's exactly what his counterpart in the House of Representatives, the Speaker, has done. So we're in the hands of incapable people who have seen the national treasury as their pot to siphon from, to steal from, and to, disable the people. The same rules they don't follow, the same constitution they don't follow. That's exactly what they did with Natasha. Remember, about the case about Natasha was that she didn't follow the rules of the Senate. And then when they had this hearing recently, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili said this: how can you say your rules trumps over the constitution of a citizen? Your rules. The constitution is what binds us all together and gives us equal right before the law. And then you say your rules and your guidelines surpasses or trumps the rights of a Nigerian citizen. And that's the same rules they did not follow when they were meant to have a quorum to say, do we agree as per the constitution that 2/3 of us must put our hands up and say we vote against this or we vote for this state of emergency. Both the Senate and the House of Representatives followed the same process. And today, if we look at history, we cannot tell who voted for the state of emergency, who supported it. It's why when you have corrupt individuals like Akpabio, I'm saying that as well, like Akpabio is corrupt. Akpabio should have followed the rules. The House of Reps Speaker should have followed the rules. They did not follow the rules. And now, in a system where the Constitution does not allow or recognize what is called a sole administrator, that is what is governing a state. That's a full-blown dictatorship. Akpabio does what he wants to do. The Speaker of the House of Representatives does what he wants to do. The leadership of the House of Representatives, of the Senate, of the National Assembly, is known to be corrupt. Atiku said that. That is what we're faced with right now. We are not governed by rules anymore. Those rules have now been jettisoned. By the way, for you to understand that, these rules have been thrown away. The way that manner with which Tinubu became president should never have happened. And we have our court system who have actually enabled it. Our judiciary have become a legal part of the APC government. Our Supreme Court is just, nobody can tell. There is the kind of judgment that is coming from our Supreme Court. It bewilders even the non-legal minds. How can you pass a judgment like this, so cruel? Especially in the case of Rivers State. And you allow impunity to continue. We have the Attorney General of the Federation, somebody who should know the law and and advise the president and say, this is not constitutional, supports it. This is all about stomach infrastructure, my people. I know you feel I'm vexed, but I really am vexed. So I'm asking you, I'm trying to put that vexation in your spirit, in your minds, to be angry about the way things are. I don't want to continue ranting anyway, but I just want to just state this out today so that you, as you watch this, you can ask yourself this question: is Dele Farotimi right? Are we really right, but are we thinking right? Or does it not matter to us anymore? But bear in mind, you're not safe. You're not safe. You're not safe under the system, because the day you speak up, if you don't speak up today, if you wait until tomorrow, you will be a victim of it. Yesterday, those people that were okay yesterday, they become today's victims. They become today's victims on our road because of this corruption. We're not governed by rules anymore. We're governed by the wills of men, the wills of the president, who cares for nothing but authority and power, just like his servant, Wike. As always, if you're meeting this content for the first time, please like, share, subscribe. And if you've been following us and you've not yet subscribed, please do so. Subscribe. Put your comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about what this gentleman, Dele Farotimi, has said. All right. And then what you think we can do to make our country a better place. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.